Here. View the waiting room, admit all. Everybody's here. All right. Can you hear me now? Looks like the audio's going through. Admit all. We're going to spotlight for everyone. Okay, let's see here. So this is methods class. And we'll have some fun in here. Research methods. Okay. I need this for anything. Okay, how to break things down. What I need to talk about today. And I also need to look over.
Bye.
Bye. Hello? You're not talking to me, are you? All right, so I need to talk about.
Make sure you study the definitions.
Okay, say. Nice field. It's chapter 2. And it's chapter 2. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. All right, launch meetings, get that stuff out of here. Boom, boom, boom.
Greatest sports, the world's greatest athletes, best celebrity guests.
I didn't hold
That real quick.
Yeah, it did say it was
Admit. Okay, let me go grab some water real quick and then I will get us started here momentarily. Okay, so we need to talk about.
Here's like the right answer, so you guys know.
We'll start with that. We'll have some fun. That's the water.
The only two. Like, this is like online. See. Yeah. He said we have 3 chances or 3 tries. So.
It was that one.
The only thing I've done was download the slides. I'm gonna have them bitches up.
Yeah. I have the exam. Because I feel like my notes are good. Oh.
People wait. Yeah. 11 o'clock. Admit. So. Let's see where we're at in here, because there's a few things I want to talk about. One's going to help you. One's going to do some other stuff. Let in here. Yes, I did. Good. This. Not that. And I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. Okay. Understanding meaning. Let's have some fun. Okay. So first up, let's see, stuff we've been talking about already. I'll go ahead and do this. And then we'll come back and revisit anything I've kind of skipped over because to some degree, actually before I share, I'll come over to the screen and talk a little bit. To some degree, I want you to understand what it is we mean when we use things. Like when we say things, when we do stuff, we need to understand, well, what it is we're doing, right? This is kind of a how-to thing. This is the most important thing. Understanding what something means when you have it. It's not easy to do, right? In here, we'll come across all kinds of times. We come across a specific word here. Bias. Right? That's a bias term, bias statement. Your personal bias in this thing, whatever. This is important to know where it comes in at because it does. It always does. Depending on what we're dealing with, how we measure things, how we treat it, what we do. Those are all over the place. Those are like dealing with individual people touching stuff. There's going to be some biases there every time, every single time. It's really hard to keep that stuff out. Biases are a pretty interesting thing because depending on how you deal with them, you can do different things. Right? Ooh. I'm going to start with a big one. It's not in our field. This will be a fun one. How many of you have ever been given a piece of paper that has a formula on it? I'm sorry. I didn't do it though. Maybe I'll help. I don't know. I might make it a whole lot worse. So, this is the most important formula you've probably ever seen. You know what that one is, right? What is it?
The energy or like.
Hold on. I think I got it. Give me just a second. Oh, no, saving something. Ah, here we go. Let's do E equals MC images. Ah, there we go. Let's do that. Share. Share the screen. Where is it at? There it goes. Share. Here we go. Here's a good example. E equals MC squared. No, not what I mean. Okay, so what is it I mean by that? You guys have heard that one before. You've heard it. You've said it probably many times yourself. What is it? Yeah, I know it's one of those things that I have heard it a lot, but that one is energy equals mass times your constant squared. Ah, this one's actually physics. Oh my God. What did you walk into today? Looking at you, you came in a little bit like, oh my God, what did you walk into today? What is that constant, by the way? One constant. Do you know what it is? Speed of light. Speed of light. Mass of something times the speed of light squared gets you the energy in it. Yeah. That's interesting. We use that to turn matter into energy. What do we get? Boom. Right? I was talking earlier, and asked me about what exactly nuclear stuff. It's like, yeah, what it is unstable. All you have to do is create an equal pressure over the surface area. And if it goes in through it and it's equalized, guess what? It goes on. Two ways to do it. Coming out of a sphere. I'm gonna have charges planted all over that thing. In a geometric pattern that creates an equal explosion around all these things simultaneously to create an equalized pressure. Boom, it goes off. For nuclears, the other type. Got half a sphere here. We got another half a sphere here. I'm gonna put explosive charge here. It'll send it this way. The pressure, once it hits, will equalize all the way around the entire sphere once it gets there. Those two ways I set off nuclear bombs at two designs that were being used at that time. There are different ones now, but that's old stuff. It's interesting what it does, what we use it for, what it means. What does it mean? We'll get back to that later. Okay. One of the most interesting things to me are contradictions, because anytime you run into a contradiction, you find mixed results and things like that. What that means is that there's some type of discussion to be had related to what is actually taking place there. It's one of those things that's really, really, really interesting. Oh, here's one. Fate versus free will. What's another one? Ooh. The big question is what? Nature versus nurture. That kind of stuff, right? Only in understanding both sides of it, you really get to see what we mean. One does not exist without the other. Or with that thing, that's gonna be like, well, we'll set light versus dark kind of thing. Right? It's kind of interesting. You only know how bright something is by how dark it is. It's simple itself. You only understand the value of nature when you see nurture isn't there, like nurture when nature isn't there. You only understand free will and fate by understanding physics. It's A equals mc squared. Some of the same stuff. If you really think about it, that's a lot to think about. In here, I talked about shapes a lot last class, didn't I? Class before that, did I talk about shapes? When you know the specific shapes I've mentioned. Okay. Very interesting pattern you'll see here. This field's a really weird one because it's a composite field where there's a whole bunch of things that come in together. We're talking the legal, the mathematical, the social, the political, the governmental, that kind of stuff. All those things come in right in this house. Service, social health, social welfare, social services, social work, whatever. All those things come in here because we deal with errors. Some degree, that's this class. You have done plenty of errors and biases and things like that. The meaning, though, is what we're trying to get at. What something means. I'd be like talking about the horizons of meaning to get into qualitative research. we're no longer dealing with numbers. I've studied this area so much that I can't understand anything else here. There's nothing deeper of substantive value that I could pull out of it. I pulled everything out. Right? Being able to just identify exactly what that means is not easy. You have to identify what's at play, isn't it? Right? If you want to know where you're at, what do you do? You don't know where you're at right now. What do you do? I dropped you somewhere in the world. You had a blindfold till about 10 minutes ago. Everything that's on you is still on you, though. What do you do?
Probably like the Apple Maps, Google Maps.
Okay. What does it do?
Tracks your location.
How? What is that? Yeah, your cell phone towers, right? Using that information, I can figure out, okay, those signal strengths, you're right here. Oh, wait, you got a good phone, right? It's going to connect to whatever and say, we're going to coordinate your position using a bunch of satellites out in space. That's going to be a lot more than this just points, right? 3 points. That's kind of interesting. If you want to go to someplace in space, how many points do you need? Think about that for a second. We're running 3 for a minute. This is a field where you'll see that number a lot. 3. Some numbers are important. They do different things. This won't be anything. Takes 3 points to figure out where you're at. It's triangulation, right? Military? Any military backgrounds? Okay. I don't remember if I had anyone here had a military background. Their rule of 3. They have one too. It's for anything of any value, really. 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is done. 1. Backups, right? You got your 1 gun, it goes down, I got a backup. That thing goes down too, I'm dead. Right? That second one's a backup. You start to understand it's like there's something about numbers and how they move. That movement is key. Some degree it's shape too. Okay. Government. There's 3 houses. Why is that?
For checks and balances.
Yes. Some of the first structures made by people ever. What were they? Oh, we'll go with ones that you can still see today. The ones that are still standing. Some of them you'll see in Central America, some you'll see over in Egypt. Yeah. Basically a 4-dimensional triangle, 3-dimensional triangle, whatever. Right? Stable. This is something, there's enough information here, I can start to get more than what's going on. You'll see it in religious structures, you'll see it in governmental structures, you'll see it in survival, you'll see it in, what else did I write? Triangles. It's Pythagoras. Comes up a lot. How many dimensions do we live in right now? That's a hard one. Dimensions. Different ways to conceptualize different things, right? This thing right here. It kind of thing, three-dimensional space. What does it take? I don't remember exactly what is it? I think it's 5+1 to get there because you have to take one less than this plus your place of origin to get time. Right? That kind of thing. I'd have to look back at it. I don't think like that. Most people don't think like that. I showed you last time when we started dealing with proportionality in the last classes. Okay, you can do straight line stuff pretty well. As soon as you start flipping that coin, your guess is for the likelihood of having a very set specific response. In sequence, woo, those things are off. 1 in 1,024. You do it 10 times in a row. You want to get heads every single time. It's your chance. But which will be that? Whether or not it happens or not, it's a different thing. That's your chances every time. Most people guess 1 100, 150, 120. Whatever. 1 in 1,000 is a lot bigger. Kind of an interesting thing there. Why am I talking about this? Okay. Some degree, we're dealing with movement. We're dealing with movement across many things all at once. Think in here. Right? It's like, that's kind of how we understand a lot of stuff when you get to the regression stuff. If you're given a formula, it's this thing. That's what you I knew that already, right? Yeah, good. It's only you're going to have multiple of these. Right? So it's going to be your dependent variable, whatever it is you're dealing with, is going to be some type of function of your first variable plus some type of function of your second variable plus plus your error. Technically, when you do it, depending on your format, it might be even plus b because you'll still have an intercept because you are drawing a line. Right? When you go to depict this, you've got your y value here. Your x value is a combination of however many of these you have together all at once. Now we're getting the predictions and get within some degree of accuracy to predicting things. So at least understanding how things move. Talk about 1s, 2s, 3s, and beyond. If I wanted to know whether or not it exists, how would I find out? That's a hell of a thing, right? Okay. I'm gonna find with you guys in a second. What is this thing as a concept? I don't mean like whenever I say, I don't think you really can. Yeah. To date, we currently can not give a definitive answer. Things keep going. Maybe over here is the answer. Maybe. I'll talk about that in a second. It's one of those weird mind things. Yeah. This thing is seen in many places. Many places, right? If I talked about your constitutional rights, you're going to talk about individual freedoms, liberties, that kind of thing. If I talked about it as a general concept, what it be free. Here, we actually have something called degrees of freedom. Anytime you're dealing with this stuff, you're dealing with the number system. This is how it works. Right? You start dealing with numbers and the nature of numbers to some degree that will dictate what you're seeing, to some degree. We start doing qualitative research. Not necessarily is that the case, right? Maybe. There's something underlying this because we're able to interact with each other. Otherwise, we wouldn't be. Degrees of freedom is a pretty interesting one. The formula for that, what is it? Wrote it down because I don't remember it. No, it's -1. Where's it at in here? N minus 1. E F equals -1. That kind of thing. What it means is this. Variable 1, variable 2. Right? If I look at all the possible combinations here, there are 4. To understand what the degrees of freedom there, I end up with 3. Now it's just like the number 3. Now, that's just the formula for degrees of freedom. However many options you have there. The math to understand it is going to look like this. What is it to be free? Is it reductive in nature? Did you say freedom is reductive in nature? Whenever you're free, is there less or more? More. Yeah. This is commonly going to be a denominator in things. I mean, you're dividing by it, so you're giving it more opportunity to move. We're talking about movement again, right? In its most simple, you're looking at something like that, right? We're talking about how these things move. Last time I kind of talked about in terms of we're playing with shapes and how they shuffle, right? We've got these all these different measures. Let's say we're actually dealing with people. If I have you all line up according to height, you're going to line up one way. Now I'm going to have you line up according to age. Is it going to be the same? No, but there might be some consistencies there. And those relationships start to identify things, right? Those are things we can determine are there or not. Okay? Simple stuff. This thing of 3, in terms of its roots there, are pretty easy to identify because like, this is the most simple that you can get in terms of interacting 2 things. 2 short things. We're interacting 2 different things. It could be A, and A, B. Maybe go on A, B, B, A, B, B. Right? We start doing that. What does that look like? Oh, I'll use different letters. I'll use different letters. Was it AT and GC? Those only pair up in certain ways, though. Wait a second, it doesn't work just quite like that. You start to see it's like, okay, you start dealing with DNA and that kind of stuff. Biology is going to move the same kind of way. You're going to have a few copies of stuff that are interacting. That's what creates all life, right? Only a few degrees of freedom. A lot of variability. But what actually changes a whole lot most of the time. This thing's really interesting to think about. Is something free or is it not? Because that's one of those philosophical things that when you get to the underlying truth of stuff, you can actually see that there is a real underlying truth to things. What do I mean by that? Some things are real and identifiable quite clearly, some things are not. In this one, it's like the shape of something matters, right? The way that you understand it matters. And the thing I wanted to point out is the point of this is people understand the same things differently, right? Something light or dark. Oh, where have you been? Right. To that point, I asked in all of my syllabi, if you're in multiple classes and you've not done it yet, you should do it. What your favorite song was. Did you guys see that? Looking at you now. Did you see that?
Yeah. I did.
Okay, good. Quite a few of you saw it. Across all my classes, no. What did I measure? Depends on how I'm going to use it. I have 1.1 measure. It's let's see where I put that one. Yeah. Granted with that one, it's something people understand innately to some degree. As I wrote 3 words up on the board, I mentioned that's not that you guys sung that one, right? You guys understand that. So we'll use that as an analogy here in a minute. So I asked, and I had my son on the board all because I'm lazy. There's a whole bunch of emails in this folder. Go through it. Identify who it is, what song it was, the artist, and then what I say. Is it good or bad? Bad. It's also a bias thing, isn't it? How do I find out if music's good or bad? I've got to me, I can go listen to it. I can go ask him, and ask each of you. How I do it changes things though, right? I asked the question of you all. First one. That first question is related to convention. Right? How quietly do I have to whisper before you hear me? Then after I've got that, because that's going to be baked in, then I've got some information about actual music. That's one bias already right there. Right? If I want to take care of that, what would I do? Think about it. The problem. This is an investigation to some degree. I'm going to show you. I want to measure that thing. So I've got responses. Respondents, because it'll be the people who sent in the responses. And I have those who received it. Okay, responses are less consequence to this one. I just look at, okay, the difference between those who received and those who responded. It's deductive reasoning. I literally subtracted. Literally subtracted. Right? That's one thing. And not your responses. True. This is from a reviewer. Right? If I want to, I can look at those responses. Song and title. Or band names, song title. band name. What else do I have? I have the song themselves. I can go get the song, right? I've got that information. Ooh, okay. I can go look at the songs. What kind of songs are?
You like the different type of genres?
Yeah, that's one. Genre. Style, that kind of a thing. What else? I started with good, bad. And I gave genre. I gave complex or simple, dichotomous. What else did I give them? Quiet, loud. Finally, emotion. What's the emotions conveyed in this thing? How do you feel? I also said, why? That was a whole bunch of garbage. That's what I got. I don't know. Yeah, I know you don't know. That's why I pointed it out. Okay. What do I want to learn? Do I want to learn more about this? If I've got enough of these, I can look across those, maybe. Maybe. Right? Is it good or bad? Maybe. If I start looking at these things, I get an understanding of maybe what types of music the class as a whole likes, that kind of stuff. And start appealing to people on a larger scale. Maybe that's what I want to do. I can look at who sent what and start adding in other information, right? Would be a good example. Well, since it's class, I want to use it like that. Let's say I had that information in front of me, and I start looking at it, and I start looking at the people who put it in. It's a song to me page, so I'm going to start looking at that song, what it genders, and seeing what types of common elements overlap. You listed something sad. You wearing a lot of dark clothes, that kind of thing. So I start seeing overlaps there. You listed something like punk rock music. You got a major scar across your face and some missing hair. Yeah, you got kind of a rough life, huh? It's like stuff like that. You can start pulling out insights, inferences, and you can start checking to see how real it is to some degree. So long as you're following a logical path. All these things have logic pathways in them. Some of them are baked in. Some of them are ones that you use every day that you don't even realize. Like this one. Why? To some degree, you know it's being conveyed. What is that thing? I actually brought one in. Some way to make sound. Let's see if it works. So, what is this? Probably about maybe $200 worth of equipment whenever I got it. How long ago that was. We'll see if it works. My son's been using this stuff for a while. So I don't know if any of it works. How many of you study music? None of you study. How many of you all online? Do any of you online study music? Yes or no? Turn that back on. Reading videos, artists. No, I gotta know. So, okay. Let's see how loud this is. I have no idea who's done what. And I should have played with this before, but I did not. It's gonna sound like crap though. I know that. All right. This thing, right here, will reach far enough. Yeah, you've seen one of these before. What is this thing?
Big time.
What does it do? Okay. How does it work?
Strings, it makes noise.
Yeah. You can see that over there. Yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strings with little metal bars across it. What does that do? Okay. Whenever I play it, If I press down on it, changes length. It puts out a different tone, right? Cheap guitar. Let's see if it buzzes real loud. It's on. Let's get it. There's something. Let's turn that down. Oh, a little bit. Too much. Okay. You've heard that sound before. What is that sound? One note, right? What's the difference between a note and a chord? How many? Four? Four. Depends. It changes. Get all kinds of ways you can do it. This is just a number pattern. That's all this is. You're talking your standard chords. Typically, you're talking about this thing right here. I'll show you. Grab this chair over here. I'm gonna sit. Yes. Something. Here you go. One note. Two notes. Start getting somewhere. It's really three notes. Right. That's a full chord. Usually we hear a six. Makes it more jangly. Right? So, what do you think of my song? Is that a song? Got a no. Got a second no.
Say yes.
Maybe. Nope. Okay, I got a lot of notes here. Oh, wait, that's not a song, no. Right? What makes a song? A lot of those. Yeah. How does this thing work? It's just sound, it's just vibrations. All I'm doing is changing the distances here, and as I change the distance, the sound changes. What am I doing? Maybe I'm playing with numbers, that kind of thing. Now, playing with shapes. That one's a triangle. This is also a triangle. This is also a triangle. This is also a triangle. I'm only using three notes, it's just repeated. Most chords are like that. You listen to music every day. Do you understand it? Yes. Understand it fully? No. Why? Part of it's that. Still, at the end of the day, you know that there's something there. Most of you pick some types of songs, some types of music to convey some type of emotion. That's about all I need that thing for. That thing. Actually, I'm gonna look at that a little bit more. None of you know how to play, so I can't ask this question. I actually don't know how to play. I don't. I make sounds with it. What am I doing? Just throwing around shapes and listening, right? To some degree, you can do this as you play with it a little bit. That's going to be your prime analysis, that kind of stuff. That's what those people do. When they look at it, they're playing with the numbers to some degree. When you start getting into some of these analyses, some will look at it like that. Some of them will look at it like music. If I start talking about frequencies. If I start talking about movements. Where do you see? Like, see those in music too, right? It's the same kinds of stuff that are being conveyed, just different ways to convey it. To some degree, it's like this. Music, I just know about the scales. I'm going to play something you all have heard. Okay. Heard that before. It's just a major scale. Everyone hears that everywhere. Here's what's a little bit different. I'm going to play the exact same thing, not one single note going to move. What's different? Gave a different feel, didn't it?
The tone.
Not one single note moved. My treatment of it changed. What really moved is the root note. So this one is happy. If I do it in a different key, it's a little bit more apparent. So this will be G kind of thing. You get this kind of shape. Down here to be so you get it right here. 4. I don't think about it. That's how much I suck on it. I don't have no idea what I'm doing. Right? That's down here. Same scale, not one note changes. Instead of this chord down here, which would be go down to, that's what this is, this one. Just play around, right? Move it down a little bit. Slightly different chord comes out. Exact same thing, right? That sounds happy. That's Western, right? That's most everything. Shift it over. You play it in a different key. You get this, something like a good example. Stuff like that. Sounds different. The blues. Right, you guys know the blues. It's 3 notes, 1, 4, 5 kind of thing. It doesn't even really take that much. You're doing it. Right? Those are the exact same tones. You add in one more tone, right? As you're moving that around, you can play it that all kinds of different ways. All kinds of different things. It's your treatment of it to some degree. But if you look at it and what's actually moving, that's just 2 notes. How is that any different than looking at something that Saul's timing scheme does? Heartbeat. It's a depiction, right? Those lines and that kind of stuff. The map. It does one thing. The meaning that it's conveying is something else. You have to be able to reach through it to see what it's exactly doing to understand whether or not you're doing it right. But if you're going in the right direction, to some degree, it is a bit like artwork. And you do have to do it a little bit by feel. To some degree, it is. I'm trying to figure it out. It's not very easy, right? With that thing, you can take, you can do replication. I'm just going to repeat what someone else has done. Replay something completely different. The elements will stay the same. If you're trying to learn it, how is it you approach it? This thing, you can learn individual songs. I'm going to learn, what's one? Those little 80s there, right? Learn most of those. I'll have enough language to be able to figure other things out. Or if there's a system in place, I can go and learn, okay, a scale is this. Right? I can now use that across different things. If you look at how you understand different subjects and start applying them to this thing itself, what you'll see is this is what's underlying it all. Whether you're talking about biology, whether you're talking about music, whether you're talking about artwork, whether you're talking about physics, it's all the same stuff. On the mathematics side. Once you start getting more towards the qualitative side, you start getting more into this, right? A little bit more artwork, a little bit more creativity. You have it in both places, but you have to understand how those things move and what you want to do with it is the most important thing. It's going to dictate everything. Actually broke one about a week ago. It's knocked it over and the neck just snapped. It's like, yeah, I go through those things like toilet. But
Sit in.
yeah. Part of it's going to be how you want to learn how this works. The biggest thing is figuring out what you want to do. And so I've gotten some of those information from some of you, particularly graduate students if I had you in the previous semesters. And I've gotten some of that for you this semester. Well, let's play with that. What kinds of things do you want to do? Only a few minutes. We'll make it 3 minutes. You'll have to send out an email. Because the sky is literally the limit. when you start dealing with this, you're gonna have a whole bunch of things that you have to start throwing in. But the first thing is finding out what drives you. What's gonna be that motivation? What is it you're trying to understand? Right? And it might start out with a concept, you might start out with theory, you might start out with just an idea, maybe. Right? As you delve into it, you try to understand what it does in reality, what it actually does, and if there are any problems associated, or use it to change. Has there been any changes recently? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Same thing. You just use a different way to understand it. This kind of stuff, the concepts. Okay, what are you playing with? What are the words at play? Right? What are the lyrics? What are the chords you're using to music? Right? How do they fit together? You're in the theory, right? You're starting to build those things together. Yeah, the math can back it up. You don't qualitative, quantitative side, same kind of stuff. You're just putting it together. As you do that, to some degree, you got to pick your genre. What theoretical line do you want to start dealing with? Is it fit with the idea, the concepts, the topics you're dealing with? Maybe, maybe not. Is there a logical argument why you move it in the way that you're going to move it? Maybe, right? Big things, you start to figure out what you want to do and start playing. Some of you already have topics that stuff to play with. Some of you don't yet. We need to get on that. You need to send an email what it is that interests you, what drives you. As we're doing that, this stuff will build out. I can't do it for you though. Because then I'm just giving you an idea. That's not any good. I can get you to practice the movements, that kind of stuff. You can feel the music though. So if you've not got me a topic just yet, make sure you do. Those of you that have, you should get an email probably in the next few hours because I got a couple things to do first. And what I'll do is I'll set you on. What I will start with, that's going to be probably on the data side. We're going to go with basic demographics, gathering those types of things from common sources. Then I'll teach you how to move the data around. So some of this will get drawn at times. Some of it won't get drawn because when you start seeing how those things overlap and interact. With that, I think that's enough for today. And I found an excuse to screw around for a little bit too. Did you guys have fun?
Did you play your best Jim Croce?
I don't know any Jim Croce. I actually don't know how to play much music.
Okay.
Yeah. I do know how to play a little bit though. But I'll get off here. I'll talk to you guys later. Show you some.